Сценарист, свистельник Артем. Кількість символів. Шворед баас дубат начіць. Назва. I invited my ex to our anniversary to make my husband jealous. But he just filed for divorce. Story, I think I didn't do anything wrong, just wanted a little excitement in my marriage, so I invited my ex to our anniversary dinner. But now I'm sitting here with divorce papers in my hand, and everyone is acting like I'm the villain. I never thought trying to make my husband jealous would turn my whole life upside down. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The reservation confirmation email sat in my inbox like a little secret. Table for 3, Friday 7 p.m., Antonio's Italian restaurant. I smiled as I typed the message to Julian. Can't wait for you to meet him tonight. It'll be perfect. My name is Callista Vane, and I work as a marketing assistant downtown. At 32, I felt like my 8-year marriage to Edward, everyone calls him Ned, had become as predictable as his accounting spreadsheets. Same routine, same conversations, same boring anniversary dinners year after year. That's why I decided to spice things up. Julian Price had been texting me for weeks since we reconnected on social media. My ex-boyfriend from college, now a successful graphic designer with his own studio. Charming, funny, and everything Ned wasn't. When he suggested we grab coffee, as old friends, I saw an opportunity. "Honey, I have a surprise for tonight," I announced to Ned as he adjusted his tie in our bedroom mirror. Our 7-year-old daughter Mila was already at his mother Susan's house for a sleepover. "A surprise?" Ned's reflection looked skeptical. "We're just going to Antonio's, right?" "Yes, but I invited someone to join us. Julian Price, remember I mentioned him? My old friend from college. He's in town and I thought it would be nice." Ned's hand stopped moving. "You invited your ex-boyfriend to our anniversary dinner?" "He's not my ex-boyfriend anymore, Ned. He's just a friend. Don't be so insecure." The drive to the restaurant was tense. Ned gripped the steering wheel, his jaw tight. "Callista, I really don't understand why you thought this was appropriate." "Because our marriage needs some excitement. We're like roommates, Ned. When's the last time you even looked at me like you wanted me?" "So you invite another man to our anniversary dinner?" "To make conversation interesting, to remind you that other people find me attractive, even if you don't seem to anymore." Julian was already waiting at the table when we arrived, looking effortlessly handsome in a black button-down shirt. He stood up with that confident smile I remembered so well. "Callista, you look absolutely stunning," he said, pulling me into a hug that lasted just a moment too long. "And you must be Ned. I've heard so much about you." Ned shook his hand stiffly. "Julian." Throughout dinner, Julian regaled us with stories from his art studio, his recent gallery showing, his travels to Europe. He had this way of making everything sound glamorous and exciting. Meanwhile, Ned sat there like a statue, barely touching his food. "So Ned, Callista tells me you're an accountant," Julian said, cutting into his salmon. "That must be steady work." "It is. I could never do it. All those numbers, sitting in an office all day. I need creativity, you know? Freedom. That's probably why Callista and I connected so well back in college. We both have that artistic spirit." I felt a thrill at the way Julian's eyes lingered on me. Julian's always been so passionate about his art. It's inspiring. "Remember that weekend we drove to the coast?" Julian continued. "Just spontaneous, no planning. We watched the sunrise from the cliffs, some of the best moments of my life." Ned's fork clinked against his plate. "Excuse me." He stood up abruptly. "I need some air." "Ned, don't be dramatic," I called after him, but he was already walking toward the exit. Julian leaned closer. "Is he always this uptight?" "You have no idea. This is exactly what I was talking about. He can't handle anything that challenges his little comfort zone." When Ned came back 10 minutes later, his face was composed but cold. I'm going home. Callista, you can catch a ride with your friend. Ned, wait. But he was already leaving, tossing a $50 bill on the table. Julian reached across and touched my hand. Hey, don't let him ruin our evening. Want to get some drinks somewhere else? I stared at the restaurant door where my husband had disappeared. Part of me felt guilty, but a bigger part felt vindicated. Finally, a reaction. Finally, some emotion from Mr. Robot. You know what? Yes, let's go. Later that night, I texted Julian. See, he barely cares. Just walked away like it was nothing. But when I got home at midnight, Ned was sitting in our living room, still in his dinner clothes, staring at his phone. Have fun? He asked without looking up. We just talked, Ned. Old friends catching up. At a bar until midnight. I needed someone to talk to after you abandoned me at our anniversary dinner. He finally looked at me, and something in his eyes made me pause. It wasn't anger. It was something colder, more calculating. I didn't abandon you, Callista. You made your choice the moment you invited him. The next few weeks felt like living with a stranger. Ned went through the motions, making coffee, helping Mila with homework, watching TV. But it was like he'd built an invisible wall around himself. Meanwhile, Julian and I texted constantly. He'd send me photos from his studio, funny memes, sweet messages about how much he'd enjoyed seeing me. It felt like being 22 again, when everything was possible and exciting. Good morning, beautiful, appeared on my phone screen as I sat at my desk at the marketing firm. Morning. Wish I was somewhere more interesting than this cubicle. Come by the studio later. I'm working on something I think you'd love. I deleted the message thread before heading home, like I always did. Ned was in the kitchen making dinner when I walked in. How was work? He asked, not looking up from the stove. Fine. Same old stuff. I scrolled through my phone, smiling at a new message from Julian. Who are you texting? Just work stuff. Ned glanced over. At 7 p.m.? Some of us don't clock out at exactly 5, Ned. Mila bounced into the kitchen. Daddy, why do you look sad all the time now? My heart clenched. Ned knelt down to her level. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking about grown-up stuff. Are you and Mommy fighting? No, baby, we're fine. But we weren't fine. That night in bed, Ned lay as far from me as possible without falling off the mattress. We need to talk about what's happening here, he said quietly. What's happening is you're being cold and distant because you can't handle the fact that I have a friend. A friend who you're texting at all hours. A friend who you're hiding your phone from me to text. I'm not hiding anything. You're being paranoid. Am I? Then let me see your phone. My stomach flipped. That's ridiculous, Ned. We don't check each other's phones. We didn't used to need to. The next morning, I noticed Ned looking through our credit card statements at the breakfast table. His finger stopped on a line item. Cafe Luna. Tuesday, 2 p.m., $15. I kept buttering Mila's toast. So? You told me you worked through lunch on Tuesday. I grabbed coffee later. Cafe Luna is across from Julian's studio. My hand stilled. It's a public cafe, Ned. Am I not allowed to buy coffee now? Not when you're lying about where you're going and who you're seeing. I'm not seeing anyone. We had coffee, as friends. Ned folded the statement carefully. How many times, Callista? How many times what? How many times have you seen him since our anniversary? I could feel Mila watching us, her cereal forgotten. A few times. For coffee. To catch up. While lying to me about it. I wasn't lying. I just didn't think you could handle the truth, and clearly I was right. Ned's mother, Susan, called later that day while I was at work. Callista, dear, how are things? Fine, Susan. Why? Ned seems troubled lately, and Mila mentioned something about a man at your anniversary dinner. I sighed. Of course Ned had told his mother. It was nothing, Susan. Just an old friend joining us. Ned's making it into something it's not. I see. Well, I just want you to know that if you and Ned are having problems, there are better ways to work through them than involving other people. There's no one else involved, and frankly, Susan, it's between me and your son. Of course, I just care about my granddaughter. After I hung up, I called my own mother. Mum, I need to vent. What's wrong, honey? Ned's being impossible. I reconnected with an old friend, and he's acting like I'm having some torrid affair. It's ridiculous. My mother, Ruth, laughed. Oh, men and their egos. Your father was the same way. He'll get over it. Maybe he needed a little wake-up call. That's what I thought, but now he's tracking my credit cards and interrogating me about coffee. Sounds like he's paying attention to you now, isn't he? Sometimes they need a reminder that other people find their wives attractive. That evening, Ned came home with a serious expression. We need to set some boundaries. Boundaries? About Julian, about your friendship with him. I laughed. You want to set boundaries about my friendships? That's controlling, Ned. Is it controlling to ask my wife not to sneak around with her ex-boyfriend? I'm not sneaking around. Then why are you deleting your text messages? My blood went cold. What? I saw you delete a message thread yesterday morning, right in front of me. I delete old messages all the time. My phone gets cluttered. Show me your phone right now. No. Callista, no, Ned. I'm not going to let you turn into some jealous husband who monitors my every move. That's not who you are. You're right. It's not who I was, but it's who you're making me become. He walked upstairs, and I heard our bedroom door close with a quiet click that somehow felt more final than a slam. The family barbecue at Susan's house was supposed to be a normal Sunday afternoon. Ned's brother Joey was there with his 10-year-old daughter Elena, along with a few family friends. I saw it as the perfect opportunity to show everyone how unreasonable Ned was being. I hope you don't mind, I announced as we walked up the driveway, but I invited Julian to join us. He doesn't know many people in town. Ned stopped walking. You what? He's new here, and I thought it would be nice to include him in a family gathering. That's what normal people do with friends, Ned. Callista, this is my mother's house, my family. And I'm your wife. My friends should be welcome. Susan opened the front door before Ned could respond. Hello, you two. Where's my granddaughter? Mila ran past us into the house. I kissed Susan's cheek. Hi, Susan. I hope you don't mind, but I invited a friend to join us. A friend? Julian's BMW pulled up behind our car. I waved enthusiastically. Julian, over here. I watched Susan's face change as Julian approached with a bottle of wine and that charming smile. He was wearing designer jeans and a crisp white shirt that probably cost more than Ned's entire outfit. Mrs. Vane, thank you so much for having me. I brought a little something. He handed her the wine with a slight bow that was both respectful and somehow intimate. Oh, well, thank you. Inside, I made sure to introduce Julian to everyone. This is Julian Price, my dear friend from college. He's a graphic designer, very successful. He just opened his own studio downtown. Joey shook Julian's hand politely, but I caught the look he exchanged with Ned. So, Julian, Susan said carefully, how long are you in town? Actually, I moved here permanently about 6 months ago. I was looking for a change of pace, and Callista made it sound like such a wonderful place to live. Callista made it sound wonderful? Oh yes, we've been in touch for a while now. She's been such a great friend, showing me around, introducing me to the best coffee shops. He smiled at me warmly. Ned excused himself to help with the grill. Throughout the afternoon, I made sure Julian felt included. When he complimented my dress, I laughed and touched his arm. When he told funny stories about his art gallery connections, I gazed at him with obvious admiration. Julian's so interesting, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. He's traveled all over Europe for his work. Just last month he was in Paris. How exciting, Susan said dryly. Isn't it? Ned and I never go anywhere interesting. He thinks a weekend at his mother's house is a vacation. I saw Ned's shoulders tense at the grill. Aunt Callista, Eleanor piped up. Why is Uncle Ned so mad? He's not mad, sweetie. He's just having trouble adjusting to the idea that I can have friends he doesn't control. Julian laughed. Some men are more secure than others, I guess. That's when I noticed Joey had his phone out and he seemed to be recording something, but I was having too much fun to care. Julian, tell them about that gallery opening you took me to last week. Oh, it was wonderful. This amazing contemporary artist, very avant-garde. Callista has such an eye for art. We spent hours discussing the pieces. Hours? Susan asked. Well, we got dinner afterward and just talked. Time flies when you're with someone who really gets it, you know? Ned appeared beside us, spatula in hand. Gets what? Art, beauty, the finer things in life. Julian's smile was friendly, but there was something challenging in his eyes. I see. No offense, Ned, but accounting must be pretty limiting, creatively speaking. It pays the bills. Sure, but there's more to life than paying bills, right? Passion, adventure, taking risks. Some of us have responsibilities. Of course, family man, steady job. Very admirable. Julian's tone was respectful, but somehow managed to make admirable sound like boring. I jumped in. Ned's always been very practical. Sometimes I think he's forgotten how to have fun. That's not true, Mila said suddenly. Daddy's fun. We play games and he reads me stories with funny voices. An uncomfortable silence fell over the group. Of course he is, sweetheart, I said quickly. I just meant grown-up fun. What's grown-up fun? Elena asked innocently. Julian laughed. Good question, kid. Later, as we were saying goodbye, Julian hugged me a little too long again. Thanks for including me, beautiful. Your family is interesting. They'll warm up to you. Will they? Your husband looks like he wants to kill me. Ned's just jealous. He'll get over it. But as we drove home, Ned was quieter than I'd ever seen him. Even Mila seemed to sense the tension. Daddy, are you okay? I'm fine, baby. Julian seems nice, she said carefully. Does he? He said I have pretty eyes like Mommy. Ned's hands tightened on the steering wheel. That night, I found him in his home office, staring at his laptop screen. What are you working on? He closed the laptop quickly. Just some files. Ned, about today. Don't. Don't what? Don't try to explain it away. Don't tell me I'm imagining things. Don't make me feel crazy for having eyes and ears. You're being dramatic. Am I? Because what I saw today was my wife flirting with another man in front of my family. My daughter, my mother. I wasn't flirting. I was being friendly. You touched his arm 6 times, Callista. I counted. You counted. You laughed at everything he said like he was the funniest man alive. You talked about dinners and gallery visits I never knew about. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone I care about. If you looked like a fool, it's because you acted like one, standing there sulking instead of joining the conversation. Ned opened his laptop again. On the screen was a video. Joey must have sent it to him. I watched myself touching Julian's arm, gazing into his eyes, laughing at his jokes. This is what it looks like, Callista. This is what everyone saw today. I stared at the screen. From the outside, it did look intimate. But that wasn't my intention. You're reading too much into it. Am I? Then explain this. He clicked to another video, this one showing Julian and me by the garden, talking quietly while the others were inside. Julian was standing very close, his hand on my lower back, both of us smiling like we shared a secret. We were just talking. About what? I don't remember. Just things. Things you couldn't discuss in front of your husband. I felt cornered, defensive. Ned, you're being paranoid. You're looking for problems that don't exist. The problem exists, Callista. The question is whether you're going to admit it or keep gaslighting me. Gaslighting? Now you're using therapy words. I've been doing some reading about emotional affairs. My heart started pounding. This isn't an affair, emotional or otherwise. Then end it. End what? Your friendship with Julian. Delete his number. Stop seeing him. That's ridiculous. If it's just a friendship, it shouldn't be hard to give up. I shouldn't have to give up friends because my husband is insecure. Ned closed the laptop and looked at me with those cold, calculating eyes again. Then I guess we have a problem. The next week, Julian texted me with an invitation that felt like a lifeline. Private showing at my studio tonight. Just you. Want to see what I've been working on? I stared at the message, knowing I should say no, knowing it would only make things worse with Ned. But I was so tired of walking on eggshells, so tired of being made to feel guilty for having a friend who actually appreciated me. What time? I typed back. 7. I'll order Thai food. I deleted the conversation and went to find Ned. He was in the living room with Mila, helping her with a puzzle. I have to work late tonight. Big presentation tomorrow. He didn't look up. Okay. I might be really late. Don't wait up. I won't. Mila looked between us. Can I stay up until Mummy gets home? Not tonight, sweetheart. School tomorrow. At 6:30, I freshened my makeup in the office bathroom and drove across town to Julian's studio. It was in a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. Very artistic, very impressive. Julian greeted me with wine and that smile that made me feel 22 again. I'm so glad you came. I wasn't sure you would. Why wouldn't I? Your husband seems like the controlling type. Ned's not controlling, he's just insecure. Julian's studio was filled with large canvases covered in bold, abstract paintings. They were beautiful, in a way I couldn't quite articulate, all flowing lines and passionate colors. These are incredible, I breathed. You inspired this one. He stopped in front of a painting that was mostly deep blues and gold, with a figure that might have been a woman dancing. Me? That night at dinner, watching you laugh, you looked so alive, so beautiful. I came home and painted until dawn. Something warm unfurled in my chest. When was the last time Ned had called me beautiful? When was the last time I'd inspired anything in him besides irritation? Julian, I know this is complicated, but I can't stop thinking about you, Callista, about us, about what we could have been if we'd stayed together. We're different people now. Are we? Because I look at you and I see the same passionate, creative woman I fell in love with in college. The woman who wanted to travel and have adventures and live a big, beautiful life. I have a daughter, responsibilities. I'm not asking you to abandon your daughter. I'm just asking you to remember who you are, who you were before you settled for a life that's too small for you. The Thai food arrived, and we sat on the floor, eating pad Thai and drinking wine, while Julian told me about his plans to expand the studio, maybe open a gallery. Everything he described sounded exciting and possible, and so different from my life of school pickups and grocery shopping and Ned's silent disapproval. Come away with me, Julian said suddenly. What? Next weekend. There's an art festival in Asheville. We could drive up, stay at this amazing bed and breakfast, I know. No pressure, just time to figure out what this is between us. Julian, I can't. I'm married. To a man who doesn't appreciate you, who makes you feel guilty for being yourself. It's not that simple. Isn't it? You're miserable, Callista. I can see it. You light up when you're with me, and you dim when you talk about going home to him. He was right. I did feel more alive with Julian, more like myself, but the thought of actually leaving, of upending Mila's life, I need to think about it. Of course, but don't think too long. Life's short and we've already wasted too many years. It was almost 11 when I finally left the studio. Julian walked me to my car, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. Part of me wanted him to. Instead, he touched my face gently. You're so beautiful, Callista. Don't let anyone make you forget that. I drove home in a daze, Julian's words echoing in my head. The house was dark except for the porch light. I slipped inside quietly, assuming Ned was asleep. He wasn't. He was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, still in his work clothes. "How was the presentation prep?" he asked without looking up. "Fine, long." "I'm sure it was." Something in his tone made me pause. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just that it must have been very intensive preparation, requiring Thai food and wine." My blood turned to ice. "What?" He turned the laptop screen toward me. It showed a photo of me and Julian sitting on the floor of his studio, laughing over takeout containers. "Where did you get this?" "Someone sent it to me, anonymously." "Someone's spying on me?" "Someone's documenting what my wife does when she lies about working late." I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly weak. "Ned, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'd love to hear the explanation for why you told me you were working late while you were actually having a romantic dinner with your ex-boyfriend." "It wasn't romantic, it was just dinner." "In his studio, alone, with wine, after lying to me about where you were going." "I didn't lie, I knew you'd overreact." "Overreact? Callista, you're having an affair." "I'm not having an affair, we're friends." "Friends don't lie about seeing each other. Friends don't have secret dinners. Friends don't look at each other the way you two are looking at each other in this photo." He clicked to another image. This one showed Julian touching my face by my car. "He didn't kiss me." "Oh, well then, that makes it completely appropriate." "Ned, please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you've been lying to me for weeks? How you've been meeting another man behind my back? How you brought him to our anniversary dinner and then to my mother's house to humiliate me in front of my family?" "I wasn't trying to humiliate you." "Then what were you trying to do?" The honest answer stuck in my throat. I was trying to make him jealous, trying to make him fight for me, trying to feel wanted and desired and alive again. I was trying to save our marriage. Ned stared at me. "By having an affair? By reminding you that other men find me attractive, that you have something worth fighting for. So this is my fault?" "No, that's not what I meant. You're having an emotional affair with your ex-boyfriend because I don't compliment you enough? I'm not having an affair." "Then end it. Right now. Delete his number. Block him on social media. Never see him again." "Ned." "That's what I thought." He closed the laptop and stood up. "I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight." "Don't do this. We can work through this." "Can we? Because it seems like you've already made your choice." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done competing with Julian for my own wife's attention. I'm done being made to feel like the bad guy for expecting fidelity in my marriage." "You're not the bad guy, and I've been faithful." "Have you?" "Because emotional infidelity is still infidelity, Callista, and that's exactly what this is." He headed toward the stairs, then turned back. "I'm taking Mila to my mother's tomorrow after school. She doesn't need to be around this tension anymore." "You can't take my daughter." "I can, and I will, until you decide whether you want to be married to me or Julian." "That's not fair." "Neither is what you've been doing to our family." He went upstairs, leaving me alone in the kitchen with the photos of my secret dinner still glowing on the laptop screen. In the harsh fluorescent light, they looked even more damning than they had a few minutes ago. I picked up my phone to call Julian, then put it down again, then picked it up again. "I can't see you anymore," I typed. I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it. Instead, I wrote, "Ned knows about tonight. Things are complicated right now." Julian's response came immediately. "Come stay with me. You don't have to go through this alone." I looked around the kitchen, where I'd made thousands of meals, where Mila had taken her first steps, where Ned and I had planned our future together 8 years ago. Then I looked at Julian's message again. "Maybe I should," I typed back, but I didn't send it. Not yet. I woke up the next morning to an empty house. Ned had already left for work, and there was a note on the kitchen counter. "Picking up Mila after school. She'll be at Mom's until Sunday." My hands shook as I made coffee. This was escalating beyond anything I'd imagined. I'd wanted to shake up our routine, not destroy our family. At work, I couldn't concentrate. Julian texted me 3 times asking if I was okay, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Finally, during my lunch break, I called my mother. "Mom, Ned and I had a big fight. He took Mila to his mother's." "What kind of fight?" He thinks I'm having an affair." "Are you?" "No, I mean, not really. I've been spending time with Julian, but nothing physical has happened." "Oh, honey, men can be so dramatic about these things. Your father once accused me of having an affair with the mailman just because I chatted with him every day." "This is different, Mom. Ned has photos of me at Julian's studio." "Photos? Who took photos?" "I don't know. Someone's been watching me." "That's terrible. What right does anyone have to spy on you?" "That's what I said, but Ned acts like I'm the one who did something wrong." "You're allowed to have friends, Callista. Maybe Ned needed a wake-up call. Sometimes men don't appreciate what they have until they think they might lose it." But when I got home that evening, I found an envelope taped to the front door. Inside were legal documents with the letterhead Morrison and Associates Family Law. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the front steps, reading words that didn't seem real. Petition for dissolution of marriage, and request for temporary custody, and motion to freeze joint assets. Ned was divorcing me. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried Susan's house. "Hello?" Susan's voice was cold. "Susan, it's Callista. I need to talk to Ned." "He's not available right now." "This is about our marriage, about Mila, please." "Callista, I think you've done enough damage." "Damage? I haven't done anything wrong." "Haven't you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've been carrying on with another man, while my son worked himself to the bone to provide for you and your daughter." "It's not like that. Julian is just a friend." "Friends don't require lies and secret meetings." "Can I please just talk to Ned?" "He'll communicate through his lawyer from now on." The line went dead. I sat in my empty house, staring at the divorce papers. This was insane. Marriages didn't end over friendships, over coffee dates and dinner conversations. But as I read through the documents, I realized how serious Ned was. He was requesting primary custody of Mila, claiming I was an unfit parent due to extramarital involvement. He'd frozen our joint checking and savings accounts. He was asking for the house. I called Julian, sobbing. "Hey, beautiful, what's wrong?" "Ned filed for divorce. He's trying to take Mila away from me." "Jesus, I'm so sorry. This is my fault." "It's not your fault, it's his. He's being completely unreasonable." "Do you want me to come over?" "Yes. No, I don't know." "What if someone's still watching?" "Let them watch. You're not doing anything wrong." But even as he said it, I wondered if that was true. I thought about Julian's invitation to Asheville, about the way I felt when he touched my face, about the messages I'd been deleting. "I need to call a lawyer," I said. "I know someone. A friend of mine went through a messy divorce last year. This guy was ruthless." "Okay, yes, give me his number." The lawyer, David Chen, agreed to see me the next morning. His office was downtown, all glass and steel and expensive-looking furniture. "So your husband filed first," he said, reviewing the documents. "That's not necessarily bad, but it means he's been planning this." "Planning it? We just had the fight 2 days ago." "Mrs. Vane, divorce papers don't get prepared overnight. Your husband has been working with his attorney for at least a week, possibly longer." The room spun. "But he was still trying to work things out. He was asking me to end my friendship with Julian." "Which you refused to do." "Because there's nothing inappropriate about it." David Chen looked at me over his glasses. "Mrs. Vane, I need you to be completely honest with me. Have you had any physical contact with this Julian?" "Hugs, nothing more." "Romantic dinners?" "We've eaten together, but not romantic dinners." "Secret meetings?" "Not secret, private." "Lying to your husband about your whereabouts?" I hesitated. Sometimes I simplified the truth. "I see. And there are photographs. Someone's been spying on me. Do you have any idea who?" No, maybe Ned hired a private investigator. It's possible. What about electronic communications? Texts, emails, social media? We text sometimes. How often? Daily. What kind of messages? I thought about Julian's good morning, beautiful texts, his compliments, his invitation to Asheville. Just friendly stuff. Mrs. Vane, I need to prepare you for the possibility that your husband's attorney will subpoena your phone records. They'll see every message, every call, every deleted conversation. My stomach dropped. They can do that? In a custody case, yes, especially if there are allegations of adultery or inappropriate conduct around the child. But I haven't done anything inappropriate around Mila. You brought this man to family gatherings. Your daughter has met him multiple times. As a friend. That may not be how a judge sees it. David Chen leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Vane, I'm going to give you some advice. If you want any chance of joint custody, you need to end all contact with Julian immediately. Block his number, delete social media connections, no more meetings. But that's admitting I did something wrong. It's admitting you want to save your relationship with your daughter. I left the lawyer's office feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Everything was spiraling out of control so fast I couldn't keep up. That afternoon, I got a call from Mila's school. Mrs. Vane, this is Principal Martinez. I wanted to let you know that your husband picked up Mila early today, and he's updated her emergency contacts. Updated them how? He's removed you as the primary contact and added his mother instead. He can't do that. I'm her mother. Actually, with the custody petition filed, he can make temporary arrangements. I'm sorry, Mrs. Vane. I know this must be difficult. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the school parking lot and cried until my eyes were swollen shut. Then I called Julian. I need to see you, I said. Of course. My place? Yes. Because if everyone was going to treat me like I was having an affair anyway, what did it matter anymore? 3 weeks later, I sat in a courthouse conference room that smelled like old coffee and broken dreams. My lawyer, David Chen, shuffled through papers, while Ned sat across from me with his attorney, looking like a stranger in his navy suit. The mediation had been going on for 2 hours, and it wasn't going well for me. Mrs. Vane, the mediator said, I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties. The text messages, the photographs, the witness statements. Can you help me understand your relationship with Mr. Julian Price? I glanced at David, who nodded slightly. We'd practiced this. Julian is an old friend from college. We reconnected when he moved to town. Our relationship has been entirely platonic. Platonic relationships don't typically require deception, Ned's lawyer interjected. My client has documented at least 15 instances where Mrs. Vane lied about her whereabouts to meet with Mr. Price. I didn't lie. I just didn't provide unnecessary details. The mediator pulled out a thick folder. I have printed copies of your text message exchanges with Mr. Price. Would you like me to read some of them aloud? My face burned. That won't be necessary. Good morning, beautiful. Can't wait to see you tonight. You looked stunning today. Your husband doesn't deserve you. These don't sound platonic, Mrs. Vane. Those are just friendly compliments. And this message from you, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd stayed together in college. How do you explain that? I couldn't. I stared at my hands, remembering the night I'd sent that text after another fight with Ned. Mrs. Vane, did you spend the night at Mr. Price's apartment on March 15th? Yes, but nothing happened. I slept on the couch. After telling your husband you were staying at your mother's house? Yes. And Mr. Price was present during this sleepover? Yes, but did you and Mr. Price travel to Asheville together the weekend of March 22nd? My throat closed up. Yes. Sharing a hotel room? It had 2 beds. But you shared a room? Yes. Ned made a sound like he'd been punched. It was the first emotion he'd shown all day. Mrs. Vane, the mediator continued, multiple witnesses have testified that you introduced Mr. Price to your 7-year-old daughter as Mommy's special friend. Can you explain what you meant by that? I just meant he was important to me. Important enough to bring to your wedding anniversary dinner. I thought it would be nice. Nice to bring your ex-boyfriend to your anniversary dinner with your husband. He's not my boyfriend. But even as I said it, I knew how it sounded, how it all looked when laid out in black and white. The lies, the secret meetings, the hotel room, the text messages calling each other beautiful and special. Ned's lawyer opened another folder. Your Honor, we have testimony from several family members about Mrs. Vane's behavior at family gatherings. Her sister-in-law will testify that Mrs. Vane was openly affectionate with Mr. Price in front of the child. Her mother-in-law witnessed inappropriate touching and intimate conversations. That's not true, I protested. We have video evidence. They played the video from the family barbecue on a laptop. Watching myself touch Julian's arm, laugh at his jokes, gaze into his eyes while my husband stood 10 feet away looking humiliated, I finally understood how this looked to everyone else. I looked like a woman having an affair. Mrs. Vane, the mediator said gently, I need to ask you directly. Have you had sexual relations with Mr. Price? No. But you acknowledge that your relationship with him has been inappropriate for a married woman. I looked at David, who nodded grimly. Yes, I acknowledge that some of my choices were inappropriate. And do you understand how your behavior has affected your daughter? Mila doesn't know anything about... Mrs. Vane, your daughter has been seeing a counselor for 3 weeks. She's been having nightmares and anxiety attacks. She asked the counselor if it was her fault that Daddy moved out. My world tilted. She's seeing a counselor. She told Dr. Martinez that she was confused about why Mommy's friend Julian was always around and why Daddy looked sad all the time. I started crying then, ugly sobs that I couldn't control. The mediator waited for me to compose myself. Mrs. Vane, are you currently in contact with Mr. Price? Yes. Are you willing to cease all contact with him as a condition of shared custody? I thought about Julian, about his art studio and his plans for us to travel together, about the way he made me feel alive and desired and free. Then I thought about Mila having nightmares. Yes, I'll end all contact, including social media, text messages, emails, and in-person meetings. Yes? And you'll agree to supervised visitation until you complete co-parenting counseling. The words hit me like a slap. Supervised visitation? Mrs. Vane, you've demonstrated extremely poor judgment regarding your daughter's emotional well-being. The court needs assurance that you can prioritize her needs over your own desires. For how long? 6 months, assuming you complete the required counseling and maintain no contact with Mr. Price. I looked across the table at Ned. He was staring at his hands, and I thought I saw tears in his eyes. Ned, I whispered, please, don't do this to us. He looked up then, and his expression was heartbroken, but resolved. You did this to us, Callista. I begged you to stop. I gave you every chance to choose our family. I choose our family now. It's too late. The mediator cleared his throat. Mr. Vane, are you willing to agree to supervised visitation rather than pursuing sole custody? Ned was quiet for a long moment. If she truly ends all contact with Julian and completes the counseling, yes. And the financial arrangements? I'll pay spousal support for 2 years while she gets back on her feet, but I keep the house. That's fair, David whispered to me, but nothing about this felt fair. I was losing my husband, my home, and regular access to my daughter because I'd wanted to feel desired again. The mediator prepared the final documents while we sat in silence. When it was time to sign, my hand shook so badly I could barely write my name. Mrs. Vane, do you understand that any violation of the no-contact order regarding Mr. Price will result in loss of visitation privileges? I understand. And you agree to begin co-parenting counseling within 1 week? Yes? Then we're finished here. As we gathered our papers, Ned stood to leave. I caught his arm. "Ned, wait. Can we talk, just for a minute?" He looked at me with those eyes that used to look at me with love, and now held nothing but sadness. "There's nothing left to say, Callista. There has to be. We have 8 years together. We have Mila. We had 8 years. We had a family. But you threw it away for someone who made you feel excited. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This was a choice, a series of choices over and over again to prioritize Julian over your family. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did, and now our daughter is in therapy because her mother cared more about feeling desired than about her family's stability." The truth of his words hit me like a physical blow. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo the damage." He walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. "I loved you, Callista. I loved you enough to fight for you, to try to save us. But I love Mila more than I love you, and I won't let her grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like." After he left, I sat in the courthouse conference room for another 20 minutes, staring at the custody agreement that gave me every other weekend with my daughter. David Chen packed up his briefcase. "Mrs. Vane, I know this is difficult, but if you follow the court's requirements, you can rebuild your relationship with your daughter." "What about my relationship with my husband?" "That's over. Mr. Vane made it very clear he won't consider reconciliation." I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine that felt inappropriate for the worst day of my life. In the parking lot, I saw Ned loading papers into his car. He looked older than he had 3 months ago, when this all started. As I watched him drive away, I realized he was right. I had made choices. Every text message, every secret meeting, every lie I told, those were choices. I'd chosen the excitement of Julian's attention over the stability of Ned's love. I'd chosen the thrill of feeling desired over the security of my family. I'd chosen to believe I deserved more than what I had, instead of appreciating what I was lucky enough to have. And now I was standing in a courthouse parking lot, alone, with supervised visitation rights to my own daughter. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Julian's number. He'd been texting me all morning, asking how the mediation went, telling me we could finally be together openly. I stared at his contact information for a long moment, then blocked his number. Then I deleted it entirely. It was too late to save my marriage, but maybe it wasn't too late to save my relationship with Mila. Maybe it wasn't too late to become the mother she deserved. I drove to my lawyer's office to discuss finding a new apartment, because in 30 days, I'd be moving out of the home where I'd planned to grow old with Ned. The home where we'd brought Mila home from the hospital. The home where we'd been happy. Before I decided happy wasn't enough. As I sat in traffic, I thought about what I'd tell people when they asked what happened to my marriage. I couldn't tell them Ned was controlling or jealous or unreasonable. I couldn't blame him for not fighting hard enough for us. I couldn't pretend I was the victim in this story. The truth was simple and devastating. I had everything I needed, but I wanted more. And in reaching for more, I lost everything that mattered.